Oh, hey there, everybody. I'm so sorry. I got stuck doing some stuff out in my yard today, and I completely forgot about our weekly live stream update and Q&A. So, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I'll make this fairly quick this evening. Let me find a spot to put my gimbal out here so I can continue I was doing. Alright, but my name is Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas. Every Saturday evening around 6 o'clock I do a live stream Q&A update. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late today. I was doing some stuff out in the yard and I completely spaced the time. It's a beautiful day out and I can't believe it's so beautiful when it's 6 o'clock and it's not dark anymore. So I do apologize for that. We did have a fairly eventful week. Let's see here. So on Wednesday we had our hearing with the Honorable Judge Baker, where we were suing the Secretary of State John Thurston for ballot access. Wow, what a day that was. Our hearing was supposed to be a half-day hearing, and it lasted about 9 hours. They cross-examined me for 2 hours. They tried many times to catch me in a lie or to get me to slip up, but unfortunately for them, I was armed with the truth. You know, I didn't have to lie. I wasn't making anything up. So every time they tried to catch me slipping up, there was nothing to catch me on. I think I did very well in my cross-examination. I think the entire hearing went really well, and I am, anxiously anticipating the judge's ruling, and I'm pretty sure she will rule in our favor. The defense wasn't able to make a good case against why we shouldn't have ballot access, and I feel we were able to make a good case on why we should have ballot access. There were a few things that I would like to talk about from the hearing, but unfortunately, we are not allowed to record a federal hearing, so I have to wait for the transcripts to come back. Once we get our transcripts, then I can kind of go through everything and give everyone more of an idea of what happened throughout the hearing, which honestly, it blows my mind. It's supposed to be a public hearing. They did let people into the courtroom, but for some reason, we aren't able to live stream or record it. So I don't have up-to-date notes for you. Let's see if I can remember a couple important things from the hearing. So the cross-examination started off with the Attorney General's lawyers questioning me the first question was, what do I do for a living? Are you just a pizza guy? So they tried to attack my character real fast in my profession. They said, so you just deliver pizzas? You work for a pizza place? And I'm like, well, yeah, on the weekends I work for Domino's Pizza. I've been there for about 5 years delivering. And during the week, I work at JB Hunt corporate headquarters as an information service intern. And then I'm also a full-time student pursuing my computer science degree. They asked if I was a student at the U of A because they wanted to know if I was just a community college student or not. So I said I'm beginning at the U of A this fall semester, and I'm graduating from NWAC, Northwest Arkansas Community College right now, magna cum laude, and then I'll be transferring. So I was able to take their discrediting and actually bring it into a positive way. I even said, I'm like, I'm sorry, I might not be what you're looking for. I'm a regular working class guy. And he's like, oh, well, I know what it's like to be working class. I clean so-and-so place on the weekends. It's like, wait a sec. You're an attorney. You work for the Attorney General's office. You're one of the highest ranked attorneys in the state. And you're trying to tell me that you're a porter on the weekends? Okay, sure, if that wants to make you, if you want to make yourself feel working class, go for it. But that was kind of his defense there. And then we moved on from that, and, there were a few different times where they tried to bring into the constitutionality of not, having to give someone ballot access. I believe at one point he asked me somewhere like, where in the law does it state that we have to give relief to a candidate looking to get ballot access? So I pulled out my Constitution and I looked, through the Constitution for a little bit. I was scrolling through the pages looking for a place where it said that you had to get 10,000 signatures to get ballot access. So I'm looking through and you know what? It's kind of amazing. It doesn't say anywhere in the Constitution that in order to represent your constituency, you need to get 10,000 signatures to get ballot access. So I was able to put that back on him. I think it all went really well, and I had a good time. I had a lot of fun with the cross-examination. I think I had a lot more fun than they were having. And you could tell that towards the end. I was a little nervous at the beginning, but as I started to get more comfortable, I think the cross-examination went really well. So we started with my cross-examination, and after my cross-examination, my co-plaintiff, Gary Foltz, he's running for, I believe it's District 31, they examined him next. He went through his line of questioning, and then after his line of questioning, it went into our witnesses. I think our first witness was Sandy Furier. I don't want to mispronounce her name. It was Miss Sandy. And Miss Sandy, she was an independent candidate who had gotten more than 800 signatures and only needed 438 to qualify for ballot access. Well, she had turned them in 2 weeks early, and they waited, I apologize, she turned them in 1 month early. And then they had finished verifying them around April 16th. And then on May 1st at 2:19 p.m., after the deadline to turn in was already done, that's when they informed her, sorry, you only had 421 verified out of your 800 plus, and you needed 438. So they said she was 17 short and did not grant her ballot access. So that was very interesting. She was one of our witnesses, and she, testified through the different processes that she had to go through, how the Secretary of State was negligent in the handling of her signatures. She had actually received signatures from constituents that were living in a different district in 2018 when they last voted, but are now living in her district. And their voter registration address was in her district, but they did not count those signatures. Things like that. She had signatures from people they said that weren't registered voters, but you could go on their voter registration database and see if they were registered voters. So she had her own issues with an incompetent Secretary of State. Oh, on top of that, they kept changing the amount of signatures required for her to get ballot access. So the way that it works is you need 3% of you need signatures equivalent to 3% of the amount of people that voted in the last governor's vote, the gubernatorial vote or something like that. And the problem is since our new Secretary of State took office, they have not updated their online voter registration information. So you can see like how people voted in 2016, but you can't see how people voted in 2018. And the problem with that is she has no way to see how many people registered voters in her district that there were to find the 3% from. So they kept changing the number on her, and it was just all really shady. So after that, I guess I do want to add, because I was really disappointed, the attorney, Mr. Mosley, he was the one who questioned me, cross-examined me, and then he also cross-examined her and Gary as well, and he was extremely rude to her. He was very rude, and I was very disappointed in that. I would think someone asking, questions of a candidate for a state legislative seat, someone who is a teacher, a member of, an important member of our community, I was very disappointed in the way he treated her. So shame on you, Mr. Mosley, for that. After he questioned Sandy, I think Roderick Talley was the next witness to come for the plaintiffs. He was actually one of the only candidates in independents to get ballot access. The first thing, of course, they got him up there. They're like, well, first of all, Mr. Talley, congratulations on your hard work and your effective campaign in getting ballot access, try to make a big deal out of it. But, the difference was he only needed a little over 200, I believe 234 signatures to get ballot access. And this isn't the first time he's run. The people who were signing his petitions, he has already knocked on their door 3 or 4 times over the last couple of years, and he knows the people in his community. He's a very predominant community figure, and in fact, when I do get elected in November, I do plan on offering Mr. Roderick Talley a position in my cabinet for community outreach. I'm going to start posting some links to the different things he's done for his community here soon on my page, because I think it's very important that we have people who care about their communities as much as he does helping represent us as well. So he had testified for us shortly after, and then after Roderick Talley, was cross-examined, Lee Evans of Evans Consulting was our next witness and testified for us as well. One of the important aspects that he added to our case was my wife. I was trying to do this 100% volunteer and unpaid, no paid canvassers to get our goal of 10,000 signatures. Now, my wife had told me that she wanted to help my campaign and do her part, and she had pledged to me 1,000 signatures. I know she had started going door to door with my daughter to get signatures, and I wasn't sure what she had meant, and she ended up surprising me, telling me that she had paid for 1,000 signatures. So she had paid Evans Consulting for 1,000 signatures. She actually paid half for 500, half up front, and of those 500, due to COVID-19, he was only able to obtain 129 of them. So realistically, he only got about 12.9% of the signatures we paid for, which was the defendants, one of their main points against us was that if we were really serious, we could have spent up to $83,000 paying canvassers to get ballot access if we were a serious campaign. Well, unfortunately, COVID-19 affected paid canvassers as well. And with his company experiencing difficulties because of this, and he only got 12.9% of the signatures he was paid for, that really helped show that as well. So it was another important witness. After Mr. Evans, we had a Mr. James Winger. He is a ballot historian and expert. And he came on and gave a little bit of background about, hi Jeannie, thank you for joining us. He gave a little bit of background about the history of voting, the history of signature collection for the voting process, the constitutionality of it all, and he really just, sealed the deal for us. He brought in the facts, and we really needed Mr. Winger. I thank you so much, Mr. Winger. I don't know if you watch my updates, but thank you for all of your help and everything you've done. Thank you for all of your work for your community as well. So after Mr. Winger went on, the very next thing that happened was the defense's counsel asked the judge to dismiss the case. It said, due to Rule 52, we feel the plaintiffs have no standing for their case and we would like you to dismiss it right now. Well, fortunately for us, the judge, she hadn't made her ruling yet, but she wanted to hear the rest of the information. She wanted to let it play out because we had already been there like 8 hours, and if there was only like one witness left, may as well just hear it out. So the judge did not accept their plea to drop the case, and she allowed us to continue. The next witness was Megan Cox. She was the first and only witness for the defense counsel. We, as Arkansan taxpayers, paid Megan Cox $350 an hour as their expert witness to write a 50-page testimony. I think it was like 50-page testimony. And then we paid her an additional $350 an hour for every hour she was at the hearing. So we paid this woman, Megan Cox, as Arkansan taxpayers, more than $6,000 to write a bunch of BS, which during while she was being cross-examined, she even said, well, I got this information from a quick Google search. You're an expert, and you're citing Google as your source. That's not how it works. You could have at least cited Google Scholar, or at least used Google to find a legitimate source and cite that source. Anyways, we paid more than $6,000 for a Google expert. That's too bad. Huge waste of our tax dollars. But she came on, tried to say she was impartial. I'm a registered independent, so I know how it is to be an independent and stuff like that. Well, yeah, kind of. She may be a registered independent, but she works for only Republicans, predominant Republicans. She also founded a group, a consulting group that's only donated to Republicans, except $1 to Tulsi Gabbard last year. So she was very partisan, and we were able to show that she was a very partisan witness who was claiming to be impartial and unbiased. And, her main thing was she actually said I was negligently handling my campaign because I did not get paid canvassers to do it for me, which is just amazing. At that time, my lawyer is wonderful. He was able to make the point of, we got it was either 0.1 or 0.01% of our signatures. Over 98% of our signatures came from volunteers, came from y'all, people who want change, people who don't want someone to go spend 80 grand of their money, just to go get signatures for ballot access. So thank y'all so much. Again, I know I thank y'all a lot for that. Y'all are so awesome. Thank you for your support and all of your signatures and your help. But we made a good point out of that, and I think all in all, the case went really well. My attorney's closing statements, man, I can't wait for the transcripts. He gave me goosebumps, you know. Thank you, Mr. Jimlinger. I really appreciate it, sir. You did amazing. Now, at the same time, the defendant's counsel, our attorney general's closing statements were a little bit different. So our attorney general is Leslie Rutledge, and she had, I believe, 4 different attorneys working on this case for her. Mr. Mosley was the attorney working for her that did all of the cross-examining pretty much throughout the entire case. And then some random guy, I don't even remember his name, came on for the closing statements, and that was all he handled, was the closing statements. Unfortunately, he lied during his closing statements. He defamed my name. He was rude. I was very disappointed. Honestly, I was disappointed that he was even able to say those things. One of the blatant lies that he said was, let's see here, he said, I was out at the firefighters union speaking to the firefighters union on March 12th after the governor declared a state of emergency. So if I was really concerned about COVID-19, I would not have went to that last event. Well, sir, that event was on March 12th, and the governor's executive order came on March 13th, the day after that event. We had already talked about that earlier in the case, but again, he decided to use those incorrect dates and lie. I'm pretty sure the judge is going to go back through all the transcripts and fact-check everything, and I'm excited for when she does. When we get the transcripts, I'll do the same thing. I will post different excerpts from the transcripts with facts and with claims and things like that, just so you all can see a little bit of what had happened. But all in all, I think it went really well. I'm very proud of my attorney. I'm very thankful for Mr. Foltz, Miss Sandy, Broderick, for Lee. Thank you guys so much for coming and helping the independents get a voice. You know, we really have to have a fair and impartial electoral process. Otherwise, the corruption's just going to continue. And we can't afford for that to happen anymore. We just really can't. I was going to go somewhere else with that too, something else I thought was important, but I lost it while I was reading your guys' comments, sorry. But thank you, Susan. Mom, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, Chelsea. And let's see, is there any resource such as an appeal if the case isn't won? So, if the case isn't won, we can appeal. But at this point, I really don't want to spend much more of y'all's money appealing this case. You know, it was your donations that afforded the attorney's retainer in the first place, and if we had to appeal, we would have to pay for another retainer. We would have to pay for the transcripts. It would probably cost us closer to $10,000. And on top of paying for $10,000 for the appeal, it's going to take at least another 1 or 2 months out of our campaigning time. And by the time we're done, the ballots are going to be printed. They'll probably won't have us as a write-in candidate per se, but you'll have to write my name in. I don't see it happening. I'm not here to waste your money. I'm not here to, run a not serious campaign. I'm here to beat Tom Cotton. And if I don't think we can beat Tom Cotton, then I wouldn't be here. And if we lose the ruling, I just don't see it happening this time around. Now, there is a good chance that if we do win the case and the judge does rule for us that ballot access, there is a good chance that they will appeal. Now, if they appeal, I am, of course, not dropping out. I'm very confident with our case. I think we did great. We will continue. If they appeal, I think it would be a huge mistake on their part because that's going to bring our case into the national spotlight. Our federal courts in Arkansas said we have a good case and we won the case. And if it goes higher than that, then I think it will be a good thing if they appeal us because it'll give us more, national attention. But I think we're going to be okay. We're just going to kind of wait for the ruling until we know exactly what's going to happen, and we'll see where it goes from there. Now, in the meantime, that's kind of what we did this last week and where we're going in the future. We're waiting for the ruling. The last case that I had read that our judge, the Honorable Judge Baker, had ruled for would be the libertarian case of last year, and I think it took her about a month to get that ruling out. So I don't want her to rush. I don't want to rush her. I'm not going to bother her at all or bother anyone. The ruling will be here when the ruling gets here. It can take up to a month, but we need to wait, and we need to be patient. Now, aside from all of that, we are some really interesting times right now. it is really not looking good out there, y'all. It really isn't. On top of COVID-19, we have, riots and protests going on all throughout the country. I guess let me talk about COVID-19 first, and then we'll get to that after. Because George Floyd does deserve a moment of our time to discuss this issue. So, COVID-19. We just saw, I believe it was 236 new cases in Arkansas here today. Fayetteville is the #1 COVID-19 hotspot in the country right now. The #1 hotspot in the country. Their COVID-19 positive rate is doubling every 6.5 days. And I believe it's raising, it's going up 12.5% a day or something like that. So we really have to make sure we are taking this seriously. The coronavirus is not a Democrat hoax. It's not a hoax. It's real. People are dying. We've had over 100,000 Americans lose their lives now because of this virus. I know people are talking about, well, look at the flu, blah, blah, blah. Well, we've had 100,000 people die in the last 5 months. Think about that. That's extremely important. We have to take it serious. We need to be social distancing. We have to be wearing face masks. Don't listen to all the fake news, the propaganda, all that crap that's on social media. Wear a mask. Yes, it is not going to prevent the virus from going through the mask. That's not the point. The point of the mask is this. You see that right there? All of that went through the air on my water droplets, and that travels up to 6 to 10 feet. When you sneeze, when you cough, that stuff travels. It is extremely important that you wear a mask, not just to protect yourself, but to protect the people around you. One of the things I've seen is sometimes some parents are in stores with their children, and their children don't have masks, and they do. Or they have masks, and their children don't. That doesn't help. Either if not all of you are wearing a mask, then none of y'all may as well be wearing one, because as soon as you get home, if you are asymptomatic, you're giving it to them anyways. So make sure we're wearing masks. If you need masks, reach out. We have a lot of community members who are making free masks right now. If you need a mask, just reach out to me and we'll get you taken care of. But you have to be wearing a mask when you go out. This isn't just to keep you safe, but that's to keep all the people around you safe as well. I understand if you're a young, healthy person, you're not around older people, you're not high risk, no one you know is high risk. Well, what if someone you infect knows someone that's high risk and that person loses their life? That's one life that could have been, saved, and we have to make sure we're taking that into account. Take COVID-19 seriously. It is very important. Another thing to think about is, I know y'all saw we made national news again. Yay! Or I don't think it was us, it was Missouri. But the Lake of the Ozarks, they had their bar that was open last weekend and the big pool party. And yesterday, KARC just showed that we have our first positive case from that party. And if one person at that party had it, I guarantee a lot more are. And we have to be very careful with Memorial Day weekend that it just happened. I know a lot of people were out on their boats or were out floating the rivers, on beaches. Just make sure, if you're going to be out, keep yourself safe, keep your family safe, and wear a mask and social distance. It's not asking too much, but we have to take it serious. We really do. As the numbers are starting to come in, it's going to... I have a very dim outlook over the next couple weeks, unfortunately. I hope it's not as bad as I think it's going to be, but with everything else going on right now, with all of the protests happening right now, it's just going to get even worse. I'm watching all these live streams, reading all these articles, and I'm seeing all these people together. A lot of people are wearing masks, but they're not social distancing. They're very upset, and they want justice, and unfortunately, I think these protests are going to really spike our COVID cases. So that's something to also consider in the future as well. Now, on to George Floyd. A lot of people are hurting right now. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of hate. And what we really need is we really need justice. We have Donald Trump saying, you know what, the correct way to handle this is send out the military, give them fully automatic assault weapons, tell them if you see looters, shoot them to kill. Shoot and kill Americans in America on domestic soil. That's his solution. Biden says, just stay calm, be friends, hold hands, it'll be okay. But unfortunately, neither of these two solutions are the correct solution. The correct solution is if we provide justice, then peace will naturally follow. You cannot have peace without justice. That is the cost. We need to arrest all 4 of those officers, and they all need to be charged. Now, the charges will probably differ from officer to officer, but we have to make sure, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, Chavez or something like that. He murdered George Floyd. Cold blood. At any time, he could have released a little bit of the pressure while the other 3 officers were holding him down, and he could have not killed that man. That is not third-degree murder. That is, in my opinion, not second-degree murder. That is a first-degree murder charge. They're charging him with third-degree murder, which is basically manslaughter, unintentional, death. I don't think that is justice. We have to make sure the correct charges are put into place. That is for that one man. There were 2 other men that were on top of him as well. I think those 2, I feel justice would be served with a third-degree murder charge for them. They did not directly inflict the killing, I don't want to say killing blow, but they did not inflict death upon George Floyd, but they were directly responsible for holding him down and allowing it to happen. The 4th officer just stood there and watched the whole thing. He just stood there while this man is pleading for his life. He just stood there and did nothing, which is an accomplice to murder. We have to make sure that the correct justice comes, because if we don't get justice, we can't expect peace. People are pissed. They're done. How many people have to be murdered by police officers until they stop? What do we have to do to get them to stop? We tried taking a knee against police brutality and police violence. And you know what happened when we tried taking a knee? They said we weren't American. We were unpatriotic. They made a mockery of us. They didn't take us seriously. We weren't heard. Taking a knee didn't work. But it did bring attention, and there were a lot of positive things from it, but it didn't work. So now people are taking to the streets. People are protesting. People are mad. And they're going to stay mad until something changes, because the systematic racism that we have allowed to take place and to take hold, not only in our criminal justice system, but in our economy and every different aspect of our lives, in employment and everything. Black Americans are suffering. Minorities are suffering. A Latinx woman still today only makes 52 cents on the dollar for the same exact job that a white man does. 52%. We have a lot of problems that are going to start to change, and they're only going to start to change because people are tired of not being heard and they're taking to the streets. We just have to make sure when we take to the streets, we're doing it the right way for the right reasons. Looting, capitalism kind of sucks. We all understand that, but I don't think looting is the answer. There are people that are out there peacefully protesting, that are making themselves heard. They're holding signs. They're speaking their hurt, their pain. They're trying to help these people feel their hurt and pain. But I don't think looting is the answer. We need to make sure that when we are out there expressing the frustration that we've been feeling, we have to do it safely, and we have to take into account that a lot of these police officers, a lot of these National Guardsmen, they feel our pain and frustration. They're just following orders. It's their job. They don't want to be out there. They don't want to be getting yelled at. They want to be out there yelling too, but it's their job, and that's how they feed their families. We have to make sure we're doing peacefully and as unviolent as possible. I know there are times out there, they are using tear gas, they're using stun grenades, they're using what they call less lethal, but are lethal weapons. We just have to make sure that we are keeping ourselves, our families, safe while trying to keep them safe as well. The safer they feel, the better they'll treat us. Try to social distance if possible, wear a mask, don't throw bricks, don't throw water bottles. Just be there, be heard. You know, that's what we have to do right now. And I think if we can just get some justice, if we can just get justice, and this is only one murder out of the tens of thousands of murders that go on every single year from police. Just this one is all we're asking. Give us justice and let people cool down and calm down. I saw they arrested the CNN news crew. They arrested them yesterday morning, on live TV. All they were doing was reporting. They weren't being violent. They weren't being rude. They weren't being loud and obnoxious. They're just saying, yeah, we're here reporting. Where would you like us to go? That's a big ant. That's a big ant too. And then after that, I was watching a live stream today, and the police actually pepper sprayed a congresswoman, a federal congresswoman, in the face. She wasn't yelling or screaming. She was just there peacefully protesting with everyone else. And you knew who else was out there with her? The president of their city council. We have peaceful protesters out there being attacked by bad police officers. Bad police officers. It's a thing. They're out there. There are people that are not good people that are cops. And we need to have our police start policing the police. If we can get the police to police the police, that's going to solve a whole lot of other issues. And that's going to make, this protesting a lot better further down the road. But again, it's a whole big issue. I don't want to go on too much about it. I just ask that you all stay safe. I do know, I think it started about an hour ago, there are actually people at the Arkansas State Capitol peacefully protesting as well. We've got people in Columbus, Ohio, Los Angeles, and Sacramento, and Oakland, and New York, in LA, in Atlanta, Georgia. It's being felt all over the country because people are hurting. We have to end the systematic oppression against the people. We have to. But as far as my weekly updates and everything, that's kind of where we're at. We had our court hearing on Wednesday. I think it went very well. We're, anxiously anticipating, or not anticipating, but awaiting the Honorable Judge Baker's orders. We'll see what she says. I'm hopeful. I don't think the defense made a good case. I think we had a pretty good case about it. There were some good laughs. Oh, I wish... I can't wait for the transcripts. There were some good laughs. There was this one part where the defending attorney that was cross-examining me, and I had two declarations. I had my original declaration, and then I had my second declaration, my updated one. In my original declaration, I had guesstimated I had more than 400 volunteers. In my second declaration, I had actually already gone through, counted all my different volunteers, and added them up to like 600. Well, excuse me. So when I was testifying, he asked me if I had 627, or I said I had more than 400. He's like, well, I thought you had 627 volunteers. I'm like, well, yeah, I had more than 400. He's like, but I thought you said you had 627. Well, isn't 627 more than 400? And I had to, go, that went on like 2 or 3 times. I thought it was pretty hilarious until he finally, was like, oh yeah, well, I guess 600 is more than 400. But anyways, I think it went really well. Again, we're just awaiting our, upcoming is we are waiting for the judge's ruling. I do plan on having a trivia night. We missed our trivia night last week because I had my hearing, and after 9 hours, I was dead. I didn't realize how much it takes out of you going through a process like that. Lawyers, judges, you have my utmost respect. That is amazing. I will be doing a trivia this Wednesday night. Last time, I think we did Harry Potter, and it was my favorite one so far. I had such a great time. It was a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining me then. Our next one, we'll have to come up with a topic. Maybe we'll do Star Wars next week. I love Star Wars as well. That would be pretty fun. But if you have any suggestions or ideas for the topics, just shoot me a message, post a comment or something, and we'll come up with a topic for a trivia this Wednesday. But, that's where we're at. Does anyone have any other questions? Let me kind of read through this and see some of these comments. Oh, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate your prayers. We do have to kick Cotton. We've got to get him out of there. One of the things that he's doing right now, he just submitted a bill to make it so Chinese students cannot get a visa to come to America to study science or engineering. What? Are you kidding me? That is the most racist BS I've ever heard, and I hope that bill dies immediately. I've been getting a lot of messages about it. Universities, people are really upset about this. I have no idea what they were thinking. Let's see, $350 an hour. Yeah, right. To say that I could have gone door to door to get signatures. Let's see. I know how to Google. I like to sign up to be a witness. Do a cheap $250 an hour. See, that would save Arkansans. That would have saved us $900 last Wednesday if you would have done it for $250 an hour. Be an expert Googler. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you all being behind me. You know, we wouldn't be able to to have accomplished everything that we have accomplished without, you know, support from wonderful people just like you. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to make a good attorney. It is an uphill battle, Melissa, but I'm confident. I'm not going to give up. We've got this. Oh, and thank you, Chris. Yeah, the donations. Oh, by the way, I had asked for a donation bomb so we could let the judge know how much support we had just during lunch. The lunch recess for the hearing. In 1 hour, we were able to raise more than $600. You know, thank you guys so much. That's so amazing. We made $600 in 1 hour. That's I think the most we've been able to get donated in that short of a period. So thank you all so much. That was awesome. Throughout the entire day and like throughout the hearing from 9 a.m. until I think it was about 6 p.m. We were able to raise more than $800. So thank you all so much. The country is getting bad, but you know, in order to heal, we've got to let go our pain. We've got to express our frustration. And once we get all that pain and frustration out and we feel justice is coming, I know we can all come together and start to heal through this. We can start it. Let's see here. That wasn't invented by Bill Gates. Yeah, I don't think COVID was invented by Bill Gates. Oh, I'm so sorry, Susan. She's 81. I hope she does all right. I've been seeing some articles of older people who have been able to kick the coronavirus in the butt. I hope your mom does the same. I'm sorry he passed. I know, like 100,000 people. It's not a joke. We just have to keep our family safe. Bad things Cotton has done. Are we looking for a topic that'll last all night? Because we can make one all night on bad things Cotton has done. But you know what, Susan? Let's do it. Wednesday night, our trivia topic will be the bad things that Cotton has done. And I'll separate the rounds into bad things Cotton's done for Arkansas, bad things Cotton's done for America, and bad things Cotton's done for the world. All right, so I've made it through all of y'all's different questions and stuff. I'll go ahead and end this. You know, thank you all again so much for your support. Our hearing went great. We are just awaiting the judge's ruling at this point. You know, may you guys have a safe weekend. Practice social distancing. Wear your mask. Keep yourself, your family, and the people around you safe. But, you know, thank you all again so much for joining me this evening. My name is Dan Whitfield. I am the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas. May God bless y'all, and may God bless America.